And welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast. And real quick, before we get anything else said, happy Veterans Day out there for those who served. Definitely big salute. I'm Curtis Wilson, and along with my partners Brian Siegler, Jonathan Talley, and Shelton Moss, we are brought to you by the Counts Family Pharmacy, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, 301 South Main Street in Blacksburg. OC Dr. Jeremy Counts down there. Tell him we sent you. We are also brought to you by Moments on the Maury. Start looking at Moments on the Maury next spring, fall, and summer for your weekend getaway. Owned by a proud Hokie, located just outside Lexington, Virginia. All the fun stuff you can think of being down in the mountains, fishing, kayaking, canoeing, or just having a nice beer by the river with a good fire pit. Check out the link right there in the comment section or visit Moments on the Maury on their Instagram page. We are all back together once again. Only took like 3 weeks. Tally, Shelton, welcome back, boys.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
What's going on, fellas? Always glad to get the full boat here in the house, especially with a big trip down to Florida State this week. And shortly we'll have somebody on that can tell us a little more about that.
Boo. Boo. Well, yep, in just a few
We got a little bit. Hey, we got a new little setup, don't we?
New setup.
We got a new little setup, don't we? It looks different on my screen. Like the layout. Is the layout different?
Oh, do you have the vertical thing turned on?
Yeah, that's only for the gram. Everything else is going
big. Yeah.
Yeah, going.
If it's messing with you like it did me last week, it messed with me hard last week. I was like, Brian, what the?
Yeah, you can hide it.
Here, you hit the little button on the left; it'll hide it from you. But yeah, you are right, Brian. In just a few minutes, we are going to be bringing on Jesse Cogger. I hope I pronounced his last name right. From Plant to Spear. If I did, Jesse, I'm sorry. It won't be the first. It won't be the last name I mispronounce. Going to bring him on in just a couple minutes. We're going to tell the truth, not about football, but about basketball. Shelton did a season preview right up for the key play. If you hadn't seen that, he's got thoughts. We've got thoughts on the opening 2 games because something's brewing down there. Going to give Shelton and Tally a little talk time when it comes to the coaching search since they've been off a couple weeks. Let them get in on that. And then, as always, we'll make our predictions for the game and then some big screeners that I don't really want to talk about because it went pretty last week.
Curtis did not have a good week last week.
Big old donut. But, yeah, let's Tally, Sheldon, anything to add before we bring on Jesse here and start talking about this Florida State game Saturday night, 7:30?
Well, I'm glad that Hokie Hoops is back. I certainly think, it feels like another year where football season, didn't really deliver. And so we're kind of just, trying to get through the winter season. And unfortunately, basketball's been kind of underperforming the last 2 years, but they're back again now. So we can finally have something to look forward to as Hokie fans during the winter and wrestling too. Shout out to wrestling. They got lots of momentum as well.
That was a good start with them. And obviously Neo is the truth. He's showing out early. So something to get the Hokie fans excited as we head into this uncharted territory with this football program.
100%. But let's go into some charted territory now. Again, like I said, Hokies head down to Florida State. Let's get to know the enemy with Jesse from Plant to Spear. Jesse, if I butchered your last name, I'm sorry, man. It happens.
It's fine, man. I answer to whatever. So it don't matter. I'm used to it by now. Hey, idiot, moron, whatever. I'll answer to just about anything. It's all good.
Curtis has such a layup name. He screws up everybody else's.
It's the sixth most common name in literally the world. What am I supposed to do?
It's funny. Like at this point, I just roll with it. Like if you say whatever, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, no, you're close.
I'll just go with Jesse from here on out. But
that works.
Jesse, first of all, before we get deep into it, give us a little background about yourself. How you came to having Plant to Spear and your history of Florida State football.
Yeah, man. So actually, I've been a Florida State fan my whole life, and I am a firm believer in one team, no second favorites, no nothing like that. It's all one team. So I bleed garnet and gold. It's been an up and down fandom for sure. Obviously, I started I do remember the 90s. I'm 37, so I wasn't really lucky enough to kind of really come up through the Bowden dynasty. I was kind of there late towards the end of it. Of course, I remember the 99 championship. Sorry to mention that one. But then also 2013, I was able to be in California for that. That was pretty cool. I actually started when I was about 10, 12 years old. My brother would go to baseball camp at Florida State, Mike Martin baseball camp. And I was not old enough to go. Yeah. And so like he was there with Mike Martin. And I was not old enough. So my dad would take me around. We'd go look at the stadium and things like that. And so I've been hooked ever since I was a kid. And then around 2021, it kicked around podcasting for years and just never was really brave enough to do it. Never really was brave enough to show my face on YouTube or anything like that. And so in 2021, I just decided, like, you know what, we're just going to go for it. Started in 22, had a great time. We jumped on the train at the right time. We jumped straight into a 10-win season and then into a 13-win season. So we were living a great life. And then the frying pan of 2-10 came and smacked us right in the face. And so that was a little bit rough to talk about. And now we're 4-5. So we're going through it. But it's been a fun experience, man. I mean, we've got to cover from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows. We've got to cover a once-in-a-lifetime event with the snub in 23, which was not exactly a good thing to cover. But it was a very big week for us on the show. It was very popular at the time. We were just raging, and everyone raged with us. But yeah, I mean, overall, man, I love it. It's grown more than I could even imagine. I was talking to Brian on our show earlier about how it still blows my mind that people will like see you at a game and be like, "Oh, you're the plant the spear guy," and it still blows my mind, man. And then, obviously getting to do things like this with the college football community is one of my favorite aspects of this whole thing. So, man, I really appreciate y'all having me on.
Yeah, Jesse, and you talked about us being on the show together. One of the things we talked about was some favorite moments in this rivalry, in this matchup series. A bit about.
Oh, we might have lost Brian. Tally, did you give him the Alabama internet?
Man, I thought it was mine acting crazy. Now his is acting crazy.
So I think he was trying to lead into there that, basically starting with 99 and then now moving into the ACC. Brian, you lost everything, man. You froze.
Oh, what's up?
We lost everything you said. You froze.
That's fun. I love it.
So you have to repeat what you just said.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we were talking on your show just a few moments before we jumped on here. Some of the history of this matchup, some of the history of Florida State, Virginia Tech. Obviously, you already mentioned the 99 national championship game. Are there any moments in this series that have kind of stood out to you that you want to talk about a little bit before we get everything else going here?
Yeah, man, it's been a range of emotions in this one too, right? So I do remember 99. Obviously, that was a big one for us. That was kind of the first national championship that I remember. I was 5 years old for the first one, so in 93. So that was the first one that I really remember. 2005, actually, the ACC championship game in Jacksonville, Florida, was my very first FSU game in person. So, I remember, I believe that was Marcus Vick in that one or something like that. And so that was actually my first FSU experience. So this was the first team I ever saw FSU play against. Then, the not so fun one, I was there looking like an idiot, swag surfing in 2018 in the blackout, having a great time. And then, like I told Brian, I was like, man, it was one of the funnest environments I had ever been in until we kicked off. And then it was all downhill from there. So yeah, a lot of memories from Florida State, Virginia Tech over the years. I love when these two brands get together and play. I will say that I've been to Blacksburg. I've actually been outside of Lane Stadium, but I've never been for a game. I was just passing through and I was like, I got to stop and see it. It's one of my bucket list items, right? I really, really, really want to go to a game in Lane Stadium. I'm really disappointed because this game was supposed to be in Blacksburg. And then when they expanded and shuffled the board, it ended up getting moved to Tallahassee. But at the end of the day, man, I think when you talk about these are two of the most, I think, iconic brands in the ACC when you talk about a fan base, stadium, the atmosphere. And I just don't think they play enough, right? 2 times in Blacksburg since the 90s and only 4 times, I think, since you guys joined the ACC is criminal, right? These are 2 brands that should be playing, especially now that we don't have divisions. We should be playing almost every single year.
Yeah, and slowly but surely that is going to start happening more and more. Where you're going to see a team roughly about every 3 to 4 years. The next one is going to be in 2028. Well, hell, if the conference is still together in 2028,
Right.
that's a whole other story. In 2028, it's supposed to be in Blacksburg, but I think going to the 9-game schedule, that's going to help it out. And like you said, there is the sense of rivalry there because starting in 99 and then 05. 05 still pisses me off to this day because we were a fucking better team than y'all, and everybody knew it on the field. And we just played stupid the whole game. I was literally – my fraternity had a huge party that night. I didn't show up because we were in the neighbors behind us. It was like a bunch of us Tech fans just packed in watching. So when everything happened, let's just say a lot of bourbon was drank that night.
Yeah.
What happened that night amongst that crowd. But let's get into this season and this team and these teams, and specifically about Florida State, because obviously we got our team. We know our team. Brian's giving you some background on them. But let's just talk. 4-5, not the record that you want. But what is – as I was looking at the data, it doesn't point to 4-5. So what's been – the one thing for you? Is it defense? Is it offense? Is it Thomas Castellanos? Because Thomas Castellanos never won a game against Virginia Tech. He's trying to break a streak right here on Saturday night because he's one of the only quarterbacks in the league that hadn't beat us. But
yeah,
what's the frustration on your part thus far?
It's really kind of shifted as the season progressed, right? I mean, obviously, you come out game one. And you can't ask for a better game. Like I still wake up at night sometimes and just sit up in my sleep and go, how in the heck did we beat Alabama? It makes no sense.
Y'all smoked them. It was not we beat them by a point.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's a miracle. Y'all dominated that game beginning in. Tally called that. Tally, I think you called that right out the gate. Like Florida State's gonna beat Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like they're gonna beat them.
It was. Wow, man. I never expected that, right? And we were there. We stormed the field and all that. And it's like I told Brian, I was like, we're standing down there on the field, and we're just like, are we going to the playoffs? And then little do you know, we're now 4-5. We just basically lost every game against a Power 4 opponent since then. But, you start off with that. And I think it's almost a curse, right? When you beat Alabama like that, because you change the expectations coming into the season. The goal was always 7-5 to 8-4 based on what happened last year, 2-10, the disaster that we were. Now I have a little bit different feeling about that type of expectation because I always look back to, 2-10 should have never happened. So yes, it's an improvement, but it's an improvement that should have never happened because you should have never been 2-10 at a place like FSU. But that's neither here nor there. So when you beat Alabama, your expectations change, and I think they should. That's what wins and losses do. And so at that point, I'm thinking we should, if you can beat Alabama like that, I should be able to look at the schedule and find 9 wins. And so we should be that type of team. And then you beat a couple of cupcakes, and that doesn't really prove anything. And then you go on the road to Virginia. And really early on, it was the defense. The defense was the problem. Like you go up to Virginia, you score 35, I think, in regulation, and then you end up giving up 46 points. So defense was kind of the problem there. Now, offense didn't help. Like we've had a really big problem with just shooting ourselves in the foot mistakes this year. Turnovers are crazy. A lot of turnovers, lots of costly penalties, not only just penalties, but penalties at crucial moments that either extend drives or kill drives and just really, really hurt the team. And so the defense was the problem early on. Then you have the Pitt game, right? Pitt comes in here with a freshman quarterback making a first ever start on the road, and puts up 34 points on you in Doak. That should never happen. So there's your defense being the problem, right? And then you go past that. The Miami game happens. Miami was like, if you look at the box score, Miami looks a little bit closer than what it actually was, being like 28-22. That game was 28-3 late in the third quarter. That was actually the point where I first tweeted, like, it's time to fire Mike. I think this is over and this is done with. And I caught a lot of flack for that because it was a little bit early. Then Pitt happened, then Stanford happened, and then everyone's ready to fire him. But the Miami game, you just weren't really competitive in that. Pitt was unfortunate, but Pitt turned out to be pretty good, right? And the Stanford game is the one that you just can't get past, right? That's got to be his second worst loss at Florida State, next to Jacksonville State in 2021. So, which he's given us a lot of great moments. You know, the first loss to FCS program in school history, the first loss to Duke in program history, 4 losing seasons in 5 years, or at least to be determined, or 6 years. But then you lose that Stanford game, and then it has shifted to the offense, right? The offense only puts up 13 points at Stanford. That is just, I don't know how you explain that, right? And so then you come back against Wake Forest. You're coming off a bye week. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they just remembered all of a sudden that they actually do play football. They beat Wake 42-7. And I know it's Wake Forest, but that's a pretty okay Wake Forest team this year. And then when you're looking for consistency, you go up to Clemson, a bad Clemson team, 3-5 at the time, and you get beat 24-10. You were never blown out in the game, but once they went up 18-0, you never got back within one score. You actually, I think, outgained them in that game, but it was another tale of mistakes. This was one of the worst games that we saw, right? I mean, you outgained them, but you had costly penalties again. You had a lot of overthrows. You had a wide open, like Mike loves to gamble on some 4th downs. Like, it does not matter where we're at on the field. He will go for it on 4th down. And so you gamble on a 4th down on your side of the field, wide open, and the guy just brickhands it. And so it's just been one of those things where, like, I want to blame Mike for a lot of this stuff, and I do, but at the same time, there's a lot of plays that are there to be made, and they're just not making them. So long story short, early part of the season, the defense was the problem. Kind of the later part of the season, the offense has been inconsistent, but throughout the whole thing, we're just missed tackles, penalties, turnovers, little things like that are how you look great on the stat sheet, but also lose games.
Sheldon, go ahead.
So Jesse, I kind of want to like bounce some ideas off you. Just that was a good long-winded rant about FSU. So we talked about last year, 2-10, it just completely imploded. They brought in a bunch of new transfers, didn't work out, obviously. And this year, obviously, FSU started out good, but again, they lost a couple close games. It seemed like it kind of snowballed. My thing is, we've seen as Hokie fans, like when you bring in a bunch of new transfers, it seems like oftentimes when you hit a wall and you hit some adversity, it's not always a guarantee that they respond to it well, because these are guys that maybe don't know each other well. There's not a lot of chemistry or continuity, and certainly we experienced that as Hokie fans when Tech lost to Vanderbilt. They just completely quit on the coaching staff and got blown up by ODU and just tumbled into a mess. When I look at FSU as an outsider, I feel like they do not have a really good ability to respond to adversity, particularly these past couple of years under Norvell. Do you think that's a fair criticism of this coaching staff?
Yeah, I do. I think in 2023 was when you actually saw them do that well, right? They responded to adversity at certain times, but a lot of that 23 team was player led. That's when you had Jared Verse, you had Jordan Travis, you had, a lot of the guys, Keon Coleman, you had a lot of the guys who were the leaders. And then in 2024, we heard a lot about the coaches had to push the leadership. They had to force guys to become leaders. So the leadership was never there in 24. And now in 25, you've seen guys like Tommy step up and be a leader early on in the season. But we don't really have the same level of leadership that we had in 2023. And actually, it's kind of a funny thing that you bring this up, because Mike Norvell loves to use the word respond. Like, we are so beyond, I'm tired of climbing, I'm tired of responding, I'm tired of all this stuff. Like, he says it after every, we're going to respond. And it's like, buddy, we've been responding for 8 weeks now. What are we doing? We're apparently not responsive. And so there was actually something that was leaked out of the locker room where one of the players was joking about him saying respond, like this is all we say. And so there was a question for after the Stanford loss that maybe he had lost the locker room, and maybe the players the message was falling on deaf ears. But then you see that after Wake, they come out, and a lot of the players, 4 or 5 players, come out and say, we've heard everything that everybody's saying about Mike Norvell in the locker room, and that's not true. We're playing for our coach. So I don't think they have quit on this season, but there has been a few games where they have been flat. It looks like they know there's nothing left to play for, but they're still playing somewhat hard. And I say that because in 24, I saw quit. I saw straight up loafing on the field. Guys just coaches, they're getting into it on the sideline. You could tell they were not bought in at all last year. So I think it has gotten better this year. But, to your point, I think with the transfers, one of the problems that we've seen here under Mike Norvell, when people talk about the wins and losses, yes, that is the glaring issue. But there's a lot of other things like recruiting. He is not been great at recruiting at a school where it's pretty hard to be bad at recruiting, right, in the state of Florida. And he has not landed a top 10 class yet. And we just lost our best recruit last week. So he's had a problem with that. So what that leads him to do is go dip in the portal every single year. And so the problem is it feels like he's putting together a team every year versus building a program that's going to be stable for the long run. Like, I understand the portal is still part of college football and it is still important. But when you look at teams like Alabama, like Georgia, like Ohio State, the teams we want to be, they are built primarily through high school recruiting, consistently year over year, and developing those recruits.
Preach.
There is a lot of mercenary to the portal, right? There's a lot of mercenary factor in that. And so you have those guys that come in, they get paid, and that's all they really care about. They just want the money. And so, yeah, I think the portal, the overusage of portal, when you bring in out of 22 starters, you bring in 16 new starters almost every single year. It's almost impossible to build continuity through that. The only thing I will say to where we're at right now is a lot of the problems we saw in recruiting and development was under the old staff. Mike Norvell is the one constant, though. And frankly, if to put it like it is, if you're going to have a $10 million CEO head coach, the least he should be able to do is recruit. And Mike Norvell cannot. And so that is why we're so frustrated with him. But I do think the leadership, the cohesion, and the development that you've seen under the new staff with Gus Malzahn and Tony White and those guys has been better. Like, we are actually seeing freshmen hit the field and be impact players now, whereas before, one of our biggest things with Mike Norvell is, why are you bringing talented kids here to sit for 3 years, then bring in a transfer who you don't know if they're going to be good or not? Like, play the recruits, man. You got to play the recruits because that's a culture killer. And so, yeah, I think the culture is – he flipped it after last year, and it's holding together. But, as the losses pile up, man, it's going to be hard to hold. It's going to be hard to keep them motivated. But, when you throw together a team every year versus build a sustainable program, that's just going to be part of the problem.
Yeah, Norvell to me kind of mimics a basketball coach, maybe like Calipari when he was at Kentucky. You build this great team for a tournament run or for a championship. But then they all go pro the next year. That's kind of what it feels like Norvell is. And then you go through, a bad year, and then you maybe have a decent year. You just can't do that at a program like Florida State, with so much prestige and history and culture that they have. Like you said, like, it would be hard to be a bad recruiter there, but he's kind of proven that that's what he is. So, long story short, that we went all around the world for me to just say, y'all are probably going to be getting a new coach soon. Who do you think that coach is going to be? A lot of people have been, as you already see in the chat and on the internet, a lot of people have been talking about James Franklin. Do you think a coach like James Franklin comes in and upgrades y'all, or is it somebody else that you're more looking at?
So I think he could. Now, I will say what concerns me the most over the last week is, one, there is a lot of smoke around them trying to figure out whether Tommy can come back next year. And the situation around that is, when he was a freshman at UCF, he played in 5 games. One of those games was the AAC championship. And the year after that, they changed the ruling to where the championship game would not affect your red shirt, right? And so they're trying to appeal to basically be like, he only played in 4 games, that counts as redshirt year. Well, if you read the tea leaves, if they bring Tommy back, that probably means they're bringing Gus back too, which probably means they're bringing Mike back. So that's the situation we don't want to happen, right? And he also had a press conference this week where he talked like a guy who thought he was coming back next year. We've won championships and we're going to win, more here and everything. And so that does concern me that we might actually bring him back for another year. But if we do make the move and if we do fire him, and I think a lot of that does kind of depend on the rest of the season, although to me, I think the decision should be made. We have enough evidence. James Franklin was actually my number one choice at first, right? Because I think right now the problem with Mike Norvell has always been consistency, right? It's never been like, 8 wins, then 10, then 7, then 12. It's either like we went 3 to 5 to 10 to 13 to 2 down to now 4, probably 5, 6 at the top, right? And so it's never been consistent. And so for me, when you fire Mike Norvell, you now have to pay basically a head coach's salary for the next 5 to 6 years, depending on when you do it. And so I don't know that Florida State can afford to screw this next hire up, because if they do, they probably can't afford to fire that guy for 5 to 6 more years. And so I think you need a guy who's almost a can't miss. And really, James Franklin feels like the guy out there right now who is actually obtainable, who is kind of a can't miss guy. And I know there's a lot of the thing with, the 4-21 against top 10 teams and things like that. But, when you're playing in the ACC, I think he can come in to a place like Florida State. He's not an elite recruiter, but he's really good, right? He's averages 13 to 15 or something like that. But he's also, I think in his time at Penn State, he's put 56 kids in the NFL. So he can develop. He's also shown to make good hires from his support staff. And so I think he could be a guy that could stabilize a program like Florida State, right? He could get you 10 wins year in and year out. And in the ACC, that means a playoff berth every now and then. So I think he would be a great option for Florida State. Now, with that being said,
hold on. Let me ask a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does it concern you, his recruiting footprint? It is Mid-Atlantic. It is not Florida. It is not Georgia. It's not Alabama. I don't even think he's got a player out of South Carolina. Does that concern you? Can he walk down there and okay, go ahead.
It does, because when you look at when we brought in Mike Norvell, the first thing was he didn't have ties to the state of Florida. And then he also took over in a COVID year. So he couldn't build those ties in the state of Florida. The difference, I think, between him and James Franklin is the fact that Franklin's name carries cachet, right? And Mike Norvell's at the time really didn't. I think everybody knows who James Franklin is. And if you put, the Florida State logo on his chest and you send him into some of them schools in South Florida, I think he would be okay. But the recruiting really is kind of the one thing that makes me step back on James Franklin, because right now the biggest problem we have is recruiting. Now, there's a whole nother conversation about that, where people try and blame NIL, people try and blame talent. And I'm like, guys, we spend more and we have more talent than Stanford. I mean, we add more to Jacksonville State. We add more than Pitt. All these other teams that we're losing to, right? Like, you're beating Alabama. It's not NIL and talent, right? So there is a disconnect there. But that's why I also look at somebody like Brian Hartline at Ohio State. Maybe you take a little bit more of a chance on a guy like that who has a recruiting prowess second to none. Like, he came down and he pulled Jeremiah Smith out of Florida, right? I would have loved to have that guy keep that kid in Florida. And so you take a chance on that because he doesn't have any coaching experience. Maybe you got Glenn Schumann there, a DC at Georgia's a guy, a name I like, Will Stein. They're up at Oregon, the OC there. And so I think those guys are ones you could look at, because you look at Kirby Smart, you look at Dan Lanning, you look at even Ryan Day. These are guys that came straight from the coordinator level, and they're having a ton of success. So I don't know that prior head coach experience is even really necessary. But what I think the problem for Florida State is, if you fire Mike Norvell, I don't know that you can go and outbid a Florida team or whatever for like a Lane Kiffin at $13.5 million a year or whatever that the case is going to be. I think you need to find somebody probably somewhere in the 8 tops of $10 million range. And who can you get for that? There's also the hot button name of Jimbo Fisher, right? If you could retread that at Florida State. I don't love that idea, but he can recruit, man.
That would be a story if y'all went back to Jimbo.
And the thing is with Jimbo, I think the allure is he can recruit, right? Even in 2022 at Texas A&M, he didn't have time for that class to flesh out because he got fired after 23. But it was like the number one recruiting class in the history of all recruiting classes. Like, I think he could come into Florida State and he could get enough talent on the roster to win in the ACC. And even during his bad years, like, we were still winning 10 games and making the Orange Bowl. So I think you want to make a splash because, when you talk about gaining NIL dollars and donations, we're not going to love like an Alex Golesh from USF, another G5 coach or something like that. I mean, he may be good, but it's probably not going to move the needle. So I think it's James Franklin is like the biggest fish in the pond that our bait can catch, right? Now, there's going to be competition for that, but we're probably not going to go get a sitting $10 million head coach. It's just probably not going to happen. So I think it's James Franklin, or you take a chance on a coordinator, or you look at maybe one of the better proven G5 coaches, like the guy from JMU, the guy from Tulane or something like that. Those guys are probably already spoken for other places. But, yeah, I think that's probably the route you're going to go. Or you hang on to Mike Norvell for one more year. We have a tough schedule next year. You hope because you don't know, right? You don't know what the coaching carousel is going to look like last year. Everybody says it's a crazy year this year. It might be crazier next year. We don't know. And so I think maybe you hold on to him and you try again in 26 and hope things aren't as crazy in the coaching carousel.
This year is an alpha, though. When I say this is an alpha project, this year is the first time NIL has truly been in play when it comes to money. Because you've already mentioned to us, Norvell's roughly going to be $8.5 million. If you're paying him $8 million, you coach $11 million, there's $20 million gone right there. And you've already said about buying out coaches. If you don't have the NIL pool, you're kind of in that situation where it's like Florida outbid us, fuck LSU outbid us, Tennessee just outbid us. How are we going to do this? But I loved your takes on everything there, but I want to hit a couple more pieces about the game before we let you go. But thanks for the insight where you're coming from as an FSU fan.
Well, I will say one quick thing to that. There is the thought process with some people that maybe we just save the money and help Norvell get better players, because we've seen what he did in 23 when he had good players, right? Like if you give him a $30 million NIL budget, could he go produce those kind of results again? And I certainly think that's in the conversation. I think the problem is, how do you get to that number when a lot of the fan funding is going to wane, because people are going to be like, I don't trust him to give him money to go buy players, because again, like you chose to pay DJU $900,000. You chose to pay Tommy C $800,000. You're spending more money than a lot of the teams you're losing to. How can I justify opening up the checkbook for this guy? And so, yeah, you're right. I think you could put money into the roster and probably see better results, but you should be seeing better results based on, we have a top 15 NIL budget and we're, probably the 60th ranked team in the country.
Yeah. 4-5 is y'all's current record. And I'm just looking here trying to go to Saturday. First of all, should the line, was it 13.5 last time I checked? What
13.5, yeah.
Is it still 13?
That's a little generous.
That is a massive line. I think they're looking at the differential in talents there. And again, a 3-6 versus a 4-5 and at home. But as I look it up and down your roster, you guys run the living crap out of the ball. Give me some info on Sawchuck and Chroma, because it looks like, other than Tommy, but we know Tommy scrambles and runs a lot. What do they bring to the table?
Yeah, so obviously at Gus Malzahn offense, the staple is the run game, right? We run the ball a lot. And, when you look at this rush offense, we're 13th in rush attempts per game. We run about 40 times a game. When you talk about the running back stable that we got, Gavin Sawchuck is a guy that came in from Oklahoma, transfer. He was actually pretty good out of Oklahoma. He just never really got a chance to be the lead back. He got injured after he got the starter status out there. He was pretty good out there. He's not been real great for us. The other guy, Chroma, is a freshman. Man, he is going to be special. My biggest concern with him is, can we keep him on the roster, right? We flipped him from Georgia on signing day. That was a really, really big get, one of the biggest flips we had in the entire class. And, he looks like a senior as a freshman. Now, he's still coming into his own, right? He's still got some things he's got to get better at. We also did see a name that you're probably not going to see on the stat sheet with Sam Singleton. He is a guy that played against Wake Forest, and I think had 91 yards rushing lead in that game. So we have about 5 or 6 backs that we will use. But your top 3, they're hoping to have Cam Davis back, again, former 5-star running back that's been out with injury. He's supposed to be back for this game. So you got about 4 or 5 guys. I wouldn't say that any of them right now are like, when I talk about like a Florida State running back, like a Dalvin Cook, right? I don't think you have one of those on the roster. Chroma could be someday. But you don't really have anybody that I don't like either, other than I could really not see Roy Dale Williams carry the ball for the rest of the season. I'd be okay with that, the Alabama transfer. But then Tommy running the ball, man, he's been banged up. He has been dealing with an ankle injury since the Pitt game. It was literally the very first play of that game. And he's not ran the ball as effectively as we would have liked him to, right? And I'll give it to Tommy. He puts his body on the line. Yeah, he got like cartwheeled against Stanford. I think he got literally knocked out against Stanford on a dirty hit. He's putting himself out there, but the running has not been the same as it has been early in the season. So that's not great when you're considering that's a lot of what makes his game special. But Florida State's going to try and run the ball, man. They are definitely going to try and run the ball first. And the thing is, when you talk about the rush stats, I will say with any stat you look at with Florida State, the games against Kent State and East Texas A&M do kind of cloud the water a little bit, right? They muddy the water a little bit because we just ran. I think we put up like 400 or 500 yards rushing against Kent State or East Texas A&M, whichever one it was. So it does skew the stats a little bit. Like we ran for over 200 yards in the first 4 games. We have not run for 200 yards since in the last 4 games. So the rush game has slowed down a little bit, but it's still effective, and it needs to be, because if you talk about the pass offense, you know the funny thing is, the more Tommy throws the ball, the worse we are, which makes little to no sense, right? And, you know, I was telling Brian earlier on our show, when you talk about the passing offense, like if you want the stat of the game, like this will literally decide the game. So in our 4 wins, we're 4-5, as everybody knows. In our 4 wins, Tommy averages 13.5 attempts per game with 0 games over 20 attempts, passing attempts. In all 5 losses, he's thrown the ball more than 20 times and averages 34.2 attempts per game. I think we threw it 40-plus times against Clemson. So if the run game works enough to allow Tommy to throw the ball about 18 times for around 170, 80 yards, that's what you really want, right? But if he's throwing it 40 times for 250, 260 yards, chances are we're going to lose.
Yeah, we were
Which is
having that
wild to think.
conversation. Yeah, we were having that conversation, and we were both. I mean, when you look at Virginia Tech, it's a very similar situation. You know, when Jesse asked me what's Virginia Tech can win this game I said if we have it, somewhere around 40 carries, we're at least going to be pretty close in this game. Every time we've seen Kyron get above that 25 number in attempts, the offensive efficiency plummets.
Yeah.
When he's right around that 20-22, that means that he's been running the ball more, number one. He's been effective with his handoffs. We've been able to get some yardage on the ground. And he's been able to be judicious with the attempts. And when we do that, we're a whole lot better offense. And so I think there's a lot of similarities when you look at some of the struggles that Florida State has had and some of the struggles Virginia Tech has had, especially on the offensive side, where we haven't seen quite as much attrition due to a mid-season firing like we have on the defensive side.
Yeah. And I will say for our offense, the offensive line is experienced. They're all redshirt seniors. They're all big. They're not great, but they're pretty darn effective. And then in our pass game, like just get ready for a deep shot to Deuce Robinson and probably Mekhi Danzy, because that seems like about all we do. I honestly don't know that we have a mid-level pass game. I haven't really seen it very much. And usually when we do, we drop it anyway. But man, I mean, because like when you look at our offense, we're 6th in yards per attempt, and we're 97th in attempts per game. So that pretty much kind of tells you where we're at. Like we like to throw the ball deep, and it's going to be to Deuce Robinson more often than not. The guy's 6'6". He can run, he can catch. He's got great body control. He's probably played himself into, I think, a first or second round draft pick. So unfortunately, we probably won't have him after this year. He's had 400-yard games this season. He's, I think, over 800 so far on the year. So, man, I mean, he's a really talented receiver. Mekhi Danzy's a young guy, a freshman, a track guy who's got insane speed. You're probably going to see a reverse to him. We ran it in, I think, the first 6 games before Gus finally figured out that everybody else knew we were going to run it too. And then, of course, you have Squirrel White, who has been an absolute bust so far this season. Part of that's on the quarterback. Part of that's on him. I had a lot of high hopes for that guy. I think he has like 5 catches for 50-something yards, and one was a 40-yard catch against Bama. So Deuce Robinson is the one that you really need to know about in the pass game. But, man, we got some weapons. It's just last game was overthrow here, drop pass there. And so it's a lot of the things of you have potential, but can you not shoot yourself in the foot?
Tally, we got another 6'6", 220-pound wide receiver to deal with.
Thank the Lord, right? Yes. That's what we want. That's what we want to play.
This is like I think the 3rd or 4th wide receiver that's somewhere north of 6'5" and at least 215.
That's tough, man.
Season.
That's tough. I mean, we had
for a
Johnny
quarterback
Wilson.
room that has been decimated by a combination of injuries and opt-outs. It has not been pretty. And we've been struggling. I told you when we talked, man, like we've been struggling giving up big plays in the running game, but we've been struggling getting off the field when they're throwing the football, and particularly in the red zone. When they throw the football in the red zone, it's going to be a touchdown almost every damn time. It's one of those things where we do not match up well, and we do not match up well against guys like this that are kind of those red zone nightmares, those stick movers, those guys that can really kind of do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely our biggest weapon, right? Now I think when you get compressed into the red zone, sometimes I do worry because the problem there is like, Tommy does have that limitation. He is 5'9", right? And so we've seen a couple times where they try and get the ball vertically, more than horizontally in that compressed field, and it's turned into turnovers. That killed us against Virginia. Batted balls or something that if you can't get him outside of the pocket, that can be an issue too. But I mean, if it wasn't for Deuce, our offense would be in pretty big trouble, right? And he got hurt. We didn't have him the second half of the Pitt game. If we did, I think maybe we do win that game. But man, I mean, right now he's been one of those guys that like you got to have him on the field because he is the best player on our offense.
Let's go to the defensive side of the ball real quick. And a name that kind of sticks out and might even stick out to Tally some is I had it right here. Earl Little, transfer from Alabama, was a huge recruit for them back in the day, and it looks like he is tearing it up this year. He's got 4 picks, leading the team in tackles. First of all, where is he playing? Anytime I see 57 tackles on a DB, it makes me think, is he playing nickel or is he playing safety? But where is he lining up? Because it seems like he is a bit of a one-man wrecking crew on that side of the ball.
Yeah, so he lines up at rover safety. So Tony White runs a 3-3-5 defense is what he likes to run. Now, we've had to switch a lot of that and go to multiple and run a 4-man front. We've had to do that a lot. But in the base defense, he runs the rover safety. And as you know, that's the middle of 3 safeties. So he's basically allowed to just kind of be like a little bit of a linebacker, a little bit of a safety hybrid. Actually, the way the defense was founded way back in the day at New Mexico State, I think that position was Brian Urlacher. So it kind of gives you an idea kind of how that guy is. He's a guy who's maybe not quite a great DB, but not, he's a little too undersized to be a linebacker. So he kind of has freedom to roam the field. And man, I mean, he came out on fire against Alabama, had an amazing game against them. Then he really struggled against Virginia. He had a couple of missed tackles that really one of them, I can't say it cost the game because you can't really put it on any one play, but he did have one that he just tried to shoulder tackle the guy, bounced right off of him and went in for a touchdown. And we ended up losing the game. He had another bad tackling effort against Pitt. So like, he's a really good player. I mean, he is a really good guy. The problem is, man, it's like he forgets he has arms when he tackles, right? He is a big shoulder tackling guy. And so really missed tackles is the one thing that kind of hurts him more than anything. But, I mean, he is one of the leaders of the defense. He is one of the best players on the defense. He's obviously a great athlete, a rangy guy coming from Alabama. And since they moved him back to safety, he's done a lot better. So as long as he doesn't miss a tackle, he's usually in a good position to be on top of them for one. So he's a really good one. Our best cover corner is probably Jabril Rawls, number 11. He's got an NFL future. He's a really good corner for us. Other than that, we don't really have a ton of really big names there like we had in the past. Edwin Joseph is another guy that kind of plays that nickel spot. He's been pretty good too. They all kind of have made some mistakes. Safety is not the really strong point for us outside of Little. I mean, you have some other guys who, one was a veteran that got pushed down the depth chart and kind of came back up. Another was a JUCO guy, a transfer. So they're pretty good. But, man, our secondary for a little part of the season, especially against Pitt, was just an unmitigated disaster in coverage. So the fact that Earl Little can kind of come up and play the run helps his numbers out a lot. But in the past game, man, our secondary has been pretty sketchy, which has been pretty painful to watch. Like sometimes they just look like they just don't know what they're doing back there.
Yeah, and I mean we don't really do a whole lot of we haven't stretched the field very well in the passing game this season, to say the least. Most of that has been kind of schemed off of our success in the running game and things like that. I did like you tying the 3-3 stack rover to the Tampa 2 middle linebacker connection there. They're basically the same position. Yeah, basically. But it's interesting to see. Like I said, I think there's a lot of there's some corresponding elements to some of the struggles we have. I think ours has just been exasperated even worse by the utter lack of pass rush because of some of the opt-outs pass rush in general.
passing game in general.
Well, passing game in general,
Because-
but you know, our pass rush has struggled as well.
Oh, it struggled as well. If we had a couple of your guys, we might be sitting 6-3 right now. But it's been wide receiver wise. That's what the struggle been. Tally, anything else before we get ready to close this out with Jesse here tonight? Tally,
I think he froze on us.
At daggum Alabama internet, I swear to God, every time.
Oh, froze. I'm sorry. I was froze, man. What was the question?
Anything else for Jesse before we get this thing ready to wrap up?
No, just tell him to go talk to Jesse. Go talk to Tommy C. and tell him that we don't want the Alabama Tommy C. We want the 8 other game Tommy C. We'll take it on him.
So do I. I haven't seen that in a while.
Brian, go ahead, Jesse.
And I was gonna say, I really think like the hardest part for me when you look at this game and picking and things like that is I just don't know who's going to show up, right? We've seen Florida State play good at home. They're 4-2 at home. They beat Alabama. They beat Wake Forest 42-7. You know, they lost to a talented Miami team at home. They lost to a good Pitt team at home. So who's going to show up for me? That's the thing. And I actually like the matchups in this game for Florida State. Right. When you talk about when you say the pass game is the kind of the weakness, that makes me feel a lot better because our secondary, our pass defense is our weakness. Our linebackers can't cover in space to save their life. Our defensive line is pretty just okay. I wouldn't say it's really special. The names to know: Daryl Jackson is the nose tackle there. He's pretty good. The twins, the Desir brothers, they're 2 freshmen. They are outstanding. I hope those are 2 that we don't lose in a transition. So I just don't know who's going to show up, but I like the way it matches up in this one. Man, I'm excited to watch it play out. If we were not at home, I would probably pick Virginia Tech in this one, right? I mean, we haven't won a road game since 2023. We've lost 9 straight. So I would definitely pick you guys if we were in Blacksburg. And I do think that spread is a little generous, right? I don't think Vegas knows what to think about us right now. I think they're a little confused. Maybe Mike Norvell's betting the spread or something like that. Hopefully our athletic department is so they can, boost up the money for the buyout. Put the booster donations on the spread. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a little generous. 13.5 is a little much. I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I think the question is going to be, can we do enough offensively? Because I think you guys are going to get a lot of opportunities on offense. Whether or not you capitalize or not, that remains to be seen. Curtis, you talked about it at the opening of the show. I was like, things might go well if we can run the football and if the history with Tommy Castellanos and Virginia Tech is something that carries forward. I think we picked him off 5 times in those matchups, something like that. So it's, it's a pretty good history for us on that front. But again, it's a different team. It's at Doak. I think y'all have a little bit more to play for than we do at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of shakes up. But before we wrap up, Jesse, we really appreciate you jumping on with us tonight. Tell all the folks out there where they can find you and where they can listen to more Plant the Spear.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. So you can find everything that we do on our website at plantthespear.com. We have links to our social media. We have links to YouTube. You can watch all our episodes or listen to all our episodes right there on the website. So it's nice and easy. You can, of course, always check us out on YouTube, on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Twitter's where I'm most active. I still call it Twitter, where I'm most active at. And then, man, we have podcast only version and we're the fans, right? So we try to be the fans' voice. So if you're a fan, if you're a Florida State fan, come hang out with us. We go to the games. We do all that stuff. We don't sit in the press box. We get a little crazy and stuff like that when we get the opportunity. I'm going to be down there on Saturday, at this game, man. I can't wait for it. I'm excited. Like I said, every time these 2 brands get together, I just get excited about it, right? It's a fun game. And like I was telling Brian, I was joking earlier, at least it's not like one is up and one is down. Like maybe because we're both equally bad, it'll just be a good game. And in a vacuum, we won't even notice that we're bad, right? We'll just think we'll just pretend it's 2 good teams and we'll just go with it, man. But I appreciate y'all having me on and I'm looking forward to Saturday.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, Jesse.
Yep.
Take care of yourself, man.
Have a good one now.
Y'all have a good one.
All right. So I don't want to jump to basketball quite yet because obviously we did some coach talk there. Me and Brian we've laid out where we feel right now. So Sheldon Talley, I just want to get Talley.
James Franklin's nephew. Hey,
Where are y'all at right now? I mean, it's been forever where you're probably, I'm going to say, what do y'all think? 17 days from actually knowing who the next coach is?
if not sooner.
If not sooner. Sooner would be better.
Who knows?
Sooner would be better.
Yeah. Who
Where are
knows?
y'all feeling? There's all sorts of board reports and all this crap going around. Where's y'all's headspace at? I don't care who goes first. Y'all just start talking.
Shelton, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually kind of zoned out a little bit on the coaching search. I'm not plugged into the message boards as much, just because I kind of got burned out from it. But I mean, it sounds like obviously James Franklin is in the lead so far, and I was thinking about this earlier today. I think not only does it make sense from our perspective, obviously hiring a guy like that, but I also feel like from Franklin's perspective, VT makes the most sense for him, because if you think about it, I mean, there's going to be a handful of SEC schools that open up for sure. But one, he doesn't fit that recruiting footprint exactly as well as he fits us. And two, generally speaking, SEC teams do not hire fired former Power 4 coaches. I mean, there have been a couple exceptions, obviously, with Steve Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin, but that was kind of a unusual situation where they had some personal issues beforehand, and then kind of went through like a reclamation project after that. It just doesn't happen very often. So I know it's kind of it's different because obviously Franklin's had such a good track record, and like teams are going to come after him. But you go through it, like Auburn, it seems like they want Sumrall, or maybe someone's going to make a play for Kiffin. Florida, same thing. Florida State, again, we don't know what their financial situation is, so we don't know if they're open up. So I think on the whole, I just think Franklin makes the most sense for VT from both sides. So he's obviously my number one. You guys know I'm a big Bob Chesney fan. I think he'd be the easy number two. We can split hairs on that, but for the most part, I feel pretty good. Like I think that's a pretty good 1-2 punch right there. If you miss on Franklin, you could settle for a really good hire in Chesney.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Uncle, what about Uncle? Talk to us about Uncle James.
Yeah. So no, I agree with what Shelton is saying. For the most part, which I said it as soon as he was fired, that I thought James Franklin was a good fit for Virginia Tech. Just from what we need standpoint, you get so many people. We've been through this like 10 million times, but from what we need to get to the next step, the next game, not the big game. We got to get to the next game before we get to the big game. And I think somebody like James Franklin would come in and be, have us playing serious football off the field and then on the field, as in money, recruiting, things like that, which in a sense gets you to playing real, serious football on the field. I think he can do that really quickly. I haven't really paid attention to Chesney much. I know that he's done a good job at the stops he's been at. I just think for him, he would have to build a little bit more. And I don't know how much time we have to build. I think Chesney's a good coach, but I'm just nervous about going after a coach that would need, like we gave Pride, we're going to give him 3 years. Like if Virginia Tech is sorry for 3 years, what's going to be left? You know what I'm saying? Like we get left out of everything. You need to build right now. I think that's kind of the mindset that we're in. 1 year. You can do it in a year. Somebody like James Franklin can come in, bring in recruits, bring in, transfer portal kids to be competitive next year. So in my mindset, that's of course what I think and what I want. But I also think that there's things that are already happening. There's all this stuff going on the boards. Everybody's seen it and heard it. And now you got Arkansas saying that they got Franklin, and you got people at Florida State. Don't nobody fucking know, man, for real. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Nobody really knows. I ain't gonna say nobody knows. Somebody may know. I don't know. I know what I want to happen, but I know that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors out there. Because even somebody that I really trust about football in general, and he's a coach in football, and he talks to a lot of college footballs. He says he don't know. he said, "Hey, man, I thought this was happening, and then this didn't happen, and then we had to go back and talk to the person about this." So things change a lot, and then there's a lot of legality that goes on in these contracts. Just like when you look at LSU with Brian Kelly, he's fired. Then we got to go back and because it's a lot of money that's tied to these contracts. So that's why it takes so long for these people to get things done. But I said all that to say, Uncle James is coming home to Blacksburg.
There you go. All right, Callie put the stamp on it. I'm going to go to the Brian Kelly thing. Thank y'all both for giving y'all's opinions. Y'all been out a couple weeks on it. The Brian Kelly thing is showing the biggest issue within college football. They fired him. They agreed to pay $54 million. Everybody can say, "Oh, this is what happened." They went and looked at the books, y'all, and they realized, wait a second, it's $54 million we got to give to him. And hit it. And now Jesse said Norvell's isn't that. Norvell's is a longer term play out.
It could be spread out over, I think, 3 or 4 years, something like that.
Offset language included.
Yeah.
But Kelly's is $54 million. His staff is probably $12 or $13 million, right? Somewhere in there. Then you got to pay the new coach and the new staff and NIL. LSU done looked at their books. They ain't got the money.
Yep. And then this is another thing. This is another thing too, Curtis, is what you got to think about. All of the coaches' salaries have been reset this year.
Yes, they have.
You got Rhett Lashley that was down at SMU making $3 million, $2.5 million, something last year. And he just gets a new deal where he's making $8 or $9 million. Yeah. I'm not saying he's got a good coach. I think he's been good for their program. But guess what? The next coach is going to look at that and say, it's just like any other sport. It's going to say, well, I've been to the playoffs and he's making $8 million. I deserve to get 9. I deserve to get 10. You know what I'm saying? So now if LSU wants to be a playoff team, like some of these other teams around them, how much are they going to have to spend on the next coach? So like you said, you're right, Curtis. They went and looked at the numbers and said, well, shoot, will you take less? Will you take less? And he's like, no, I ain't taking less. And they're like, we didn't got the money. What are we going to do? Because we need to pay him $54 million, and then we're going to have to get the next coach, 10? It's a rough game out here, man.
At least.
Yeah, it's a rough game out here, man.
And we are now in the day and age NIL is king. Because if you don't have your NIL situated and funded, the coach don't matter. Everybody says the coaching matters. Coaching matters depending on your talent level. Because there ain't no way, Brian, no disrespect to Hampton Sydney, Nick Saban couldn't go take Hampton Sydney's roster and compete at the Division I level. He's the greatest coach of all time, though, right? Why can't he? Because talent matters. It's always mattered. And if you ain't got the money to pay your talent and you ain't got your house in order on that end, coaching only marginally matters.
Curtis, you don't think he could turn me into a Remington winner?
I'm not saying that. He gonna get you some arm extensions?
Maybe.
All right. So that's kind of where the coaching is. And it's kind of, to be honest, it's now sit and wait. It is what it is. Some of y'all going to be happy, whoever it is. Some of y'all going to be pissed. It's going to be fun to talk about who the coordinator hires is in the next month or two as we see that come down. It's going to be fun how the portal works, who stays, who goes. So let's just sit back, because now I'm like Sheldon. I'm almost burned. I'm like Sheldon. Sheldon's burned out. I'm like this close to getting burned out. So luckily,
actual news. Give me some actual news, something to chew on. I don't want to have to scrounge through the boards and like read tea leaves. I'm done with that.
All right, here we go. Here's the news. The Virginia Tech Hokie basketball team is 2-0. That's the news.
2-0.
And
not even that, though, because that happens. I ain't gonna say that happens all the time, but that's just, basketball. It don't matter till you get to ACC play. But they beat a team. But hold on. But they beat a team that's projected to go to the tournament and finish third in the Big East. Still don't matter. Still don't matter to me, because I feel like when you get into ACC play, night in and night out, you start to see who your team really is. Now, I'm saying that to say the real news is Virginia Tech has a legit basketball player on that team that will carry them through that ACC slate, because my knock on, I don't want to say knock, but what I always said like about Mike Young's roster was, man, we got to get some bigger guards, because when you start playing, Duke, and you start playing North Carolina, Virginia, they got big guards for the most part, 6'4", 6'5" guards, long arms, could jump. And then we would be rolling out with Storm Murphy, no disrespect, trying to play against these guards night in and night out, and it's hard. Now, Storm Murphy did a great job. Like I said, no disrespect to that kid. But if you want to win, you need to be bigger, at that guard position in the ACC. Neo is bigger. I got to give the kid his props. I tried not to be on the hype train all off season, because I was just like, I want to see him play. I seen some of the stuff he was doing. But when you watch him on the floor, he moves like Luka, man. I hate to say that because I'm a Laker fan, but people were saying it, and he really does. Like 6'9", 215, 220, and just he doesn't look like he's moving fast, but he gets to his spots and he makes his shots. And you can't stay in front of him. It's like there's no defense for a great offense. That's just real. In fact, that you can be the greatest defender ever, but you cannot really, really stop a great offensive player. Neo seems like a great offensive player. When the game gets tough, you can give him the ball and get out of his way. That has always been my knock on what Mike Young has had. I'm like, man, he can't get those type of players. I don't know what they paid him, and I don't know how he did it, but he got one. So shout out to Mike Young and his staff for bringing Neo to Blacksburg and letting him do his thing. Sheldon, I know you got some information on that, right? And you paid attention to Neo, right?
Yeah, I've been following the interwebs. It's pretty crazy. I feel like we sort of have an internet sensation on our hands with all the buzz that Nico's been getting. Like lots of popular college basketball accounts tweeting about him, doing deep dives and all that stuff. The memes with Luka have been pretty good too. So it's kind of fun. Not only is Tech good, but they're also kind of nationally relevant, at least so far. But I'm really happy with how things have gone so far. I mean, I try not to overreact to college basketball too early, especially from like a stats perspective, because we're still kind of figuring things out and seeing how the team performs early on. But I mean, so far it's been pretty good. The one thing I like, Tech has been significantly improved in terms of their turnover rate. It was such a bad problem last year; they were one of the worst in the country. But now they're 17th in turnover percentage so far this year. And I think the thing that Mike talked about in the preseason was that he's got three ball handlers between obviously Abdallas, who's sort of like a point forward, kind of like our LeBron. But then you've also got guys like Jalen Bedford, who can handle the ball a little bit, and Ben Hammond as well. So I think we've got a much better complement at guards at the guard spot at the one, and you've also got more versatility at the center position between Toby Lawal and Monty Hansberry, who can kind of provide a good punch at that 4 or 5 spot, and some more positional versatility too. So it's a much more deep and versatile roster than it was last year. So I think what we're seeing is that Mike, when he has the tools to work with, he can be a very good coach.
Well, I'm gonna make.
Yeah, you brought up.
Can I say
Go
2
ahead.
points,
Go ahead,
Callie? So first of all, you talk about size wise. 2 of the guys brought in this year. Jaden Shute, 6'5", 210. Tyler Johnson, guard, 6'5", 210. So not only, I think Johnson was here last year. Y'all have to get me, but Shute was a transfer, I know. You're talking about bigger guards. So you've got 3 big guards like that. But the other thing, and Tyler, I'll get it back to you. Saturday, and I didn't get to watch it. I don't have Peacock. Sucked. Our buddy Robbie, he's in the chat tonight. It's been a while. Football season's over down in the mountains. He was giving us updates, and you watch the highlights. But watching the game flow of that first half, Neo kept us in the game because we were only down 6 at half, and it was him. It was him. He had 19 or 20 in the first half. But then they figured out with the adjustments in Hansberry, in Lawal, and the other guys in the second half of that game. Not only did he continue to score, but they picked up the slack. and it's been so many years where that didn't happen. So it was enjoyable seeing that. Go ahead, Tyler. What you got?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, and a lot of talk has been about Neo, of course, because of how good he's being. But you can go look at Hansberry, what Shelton brought up as well. He's damn near averaging 20 and 10 right now. I know it's only been 2 games, but when you got a big man and I mean, he's not. I think he may be like 6'8", 6'9", playing center court position. Yeah, he's got some beef in the inside, and when you watch him play, he's just got a little bit different motor than I'm used to kind of our Virginia Tech big men having. Has good hands, good feet, and he get after the ball. He's going after every rebound. He's not shying away from any contact. He just seems to be in the right places at the right time, which helps when you have somebody that's distributing the ball like Neo. But again, I think he's averaging 18 and 12 right now in those 2 games. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a big deal, man. And then, like you, Sheldon and Curtis as well, you brought up Lawal. Like, I think he's right around 13 and 12 or something like that. He's an athletic guy that's just on the rim. And it's a fun team to watch right now, man. So anybody who hadn't been watching, because I'm a big sports fan. I mean, I'm a huge basketball fan as well as football, but I just haven't had much excitement watching Virginia Tech as of late. This team has been exciting to watch. And again, try not to get too excited at the beginning of the season about stats and plays and where we line up and stuff like that. But even if we lost that game against Providence, it was exciting to watch. I'm like, man, this team is fun to watch. So I'm excited, man. I hope, and I never say it. I know people will try to say I said. I never said Mike Young wasn't a good coach. I didn't never say that. I think he's a good coach. You
never did say that.
I just think that I just said I thought he was old and outdated. So I'm excited to see what he does with this talent that he has and how these guys compete this year because they look good. They look like it's going to be a fun year to pay attention to basketball. Duke looks really good too. So I will be I got a kid that graduated from here in Grissom. He's at Clemson. So I'm going to try to solicit some tickets from him so I can check one of them games out this year.
There we go. I'm interested to see what a Mike Young team looks like that isn't overly dependent on the 3 and then having like one other primary scorer. I feel like we've got enough people that can get their shots in this offense. It doesn't all have to come from the 3-point line or go through one person, although Neo has the ability to be kind of that take over a game type player. So I'm interested to see how Mike Young evolves with this roster in terms of what he's trying to do from an offensive standpoint, because we know what he can do when he's got shooters out there. I'm interested to see what he can do with having a true versatile mismatch nightmare weapon like Neo and how he can draw up some interesting things to play off of that.
Well, I mentioned this last week, or maybe I did mention it last week. When did we go last week? Tuesday night? Had they played the game? I don't remember. Yeah. They played the game. And he did it again Saturday. And it's to Tally's point, Mike Young's system can work. But every time you draw up a play or have a set play, which Mike does a lot, right? Not all the time is it going to get you the best shot. For years, at least as long as I've known Jonathan Talley, Virginia Tech basketball, I just want to, Tally's always said, I just want a guy that we're up 3 points. We need to extend it. And you know what? You're going to say, just go score a bucket. And we've seen Neo do that. Like you've seen him just literally step back fadeaways, just taking it to the rim for a layup or playing a 2-man game with somebody and giving them an easy slammer, an easy shot. And when that happens, it's those times where we hadn't made a bucket in 2 minutes. They cut an 8-point lead to 4. He does something, cuts it back up, goes back to 7. And you kill teams.
And you know what? Yep. And you know what else, Curtis? If you go back and look at that Providence game, he plays good defense. You know what I'm saying? Like
position defense.
He has the length. Yeah, he has the length to play defense. And I've seen a couple times where they tried to put him in a bad spot and get to the rim on him, and he knows how to use his body to go straight up and didn't cause a foul. So he's a very, very smart player, which a lot of times those European guys are like years ahead of how old they are. They might not even be the age that they say they is. He might be 30 years old. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, most of those European guys, because they play with such older guys for so many years, when they come over here, they're pretty much pros already. And somebody in the chat said it sucks that we're having for 1 year. No, that's a great thing.
That's great.
In basketball, you want to have a one and done, because that gets somebody at your school that has a great year for him to be one and done, and then he goes to the league. We don't want him to go nowhere else and carry their name. We want him to go to the league and carry Virginia Tech's name and say, oh, he was at Virginia Tech, and that brings more eyes to your school. So I'm excited to see what he does this year.
Sheldon, is there anything else you wrote in your article or anything else you want to pump? Because St. Joe's tomorrow night, not the St. Joe's of old, but another decent challenge there.
Yeah, they're a decent team out of the A-10. I think it'll be a good solid challenge. I'd say on the whole, like we guys were talking about, Mike has said this will not be a great three-point shooting team. They could be an okay three-point shooting team, but I think they're mostly going to play through Nico, who can obviously, shoot from outside, but he's a really good mid-range scorer, can get to the bucket as well, and then also, run the offense through Toby and Hansberry as well. Because I think Hansberry is very talented, and him and Toby are both very long. And just have a ton of athleticism. So, they'll get the ball inside a little bit more and kind of just let Neo do his thing. So yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a good team. It'll be a good team. Again, the big thing is really just, defense. How much of a step up are they going to take from last year? I think they'll be a better rebounding team, and I think they'll also score a lot more in transition, just because they've got more speed and athleticism than they did a season ago. And typically in transition offense has not been a big thing under Mike, but from what he was saying at Charlotte in the ACC media day, he thinks it's going to be a little bit more of a staple of his offense this season. So very excited to watch that.
All right. Perfect. Also, go to Key Play, check out Sheldon's preview, get all the ins and outs of this team this year. All right, real quick, get back to football. First of all, does anyone have faith that we are going to win Saturday night? Is anybody picking the Hokies to win in us four?
I am not. I think it'll be competitive, but no, I'm not picking them to win.
Okay, Dally.
Yeah, same. Think it'll be competitive. Think it'll be kind of it's kind of a coin flip, because you got two teams that don't know how to win, but I just think they got more talent than us, because we got so many people that are out and not there. So I'm not picking us to win, but I'm if the line was 13 and a half. Is that what the line is? 13 and a half?
Still
13 and a half is the line.
Yeah, no, I think I would pick us to cover, but not to win.
Yeah, same exact space. I mean, I think it's going to be about a 8 or 9 point victory for the Seminoles. I could push it to 10. If you said the line was 9.5, I might pick FSU against the spread there, but 13.5 is I think too rich. I think we'll keep it close. I think we'll play it tough, but I think we kind of fade in the fourth quarter and kind of let them get a little bit of distance between us before the whistle blows there at the end.
Yeah, I think this is going to be similar to the Louisville game. I think we're going to punch them the whole time, but what he mentioned in Deuce, a kid who has that sort of explosion in their other kid to go over the top, they're going to run the ball well enough against us. I know we have been doing better against the run, but it's Shelton's age-old adage, right? They're going to hit probably 3 explosive plays. They're going to hit 3 plays, 30 yards plus, something like 27-17. We cover, but again, we just don't have the passing offense right now to keep up. Literally, if a monsoon came through Saturday night, we'd have a shot. But unfortunately, we don't. So, it is what it is. Mike Norvell saves his job because he beats Virginia Tech. There you go. All right. Let's go, because we still got it's been. I mean, I will say this. Pull it up. Sheldon and Tally, y'all got to get over 500, okay? Just so one person on this podcast has a winning record. Because me and Brian ain't got no chance in hell.
Yeah, the mathing on my end.
Well, we've had now, if y'all haven't counted, me and Brian have had 3 0 for 4 weekends. 6 combined. That's impressive. So fade us whatever we do. Tally and Shelton started rough. They have been slowly climbing back. And it's been a fun season of games, as it always is. You know, it's always fun games that's out here. So regardless what happens, I can be mad with us. At least now it's not the point where it's like I'm angry. I don't want to watch any other games. I was at peace early in the season. I'm at peace the rest of the season. So let's make some picks. Let's see if either of us can go really bad. I'm picking first here. I thought this was an interesting matchup with NC State. NC State versus Miami down at Miami. Miami laying 15.5. NC State either is ass or they play like their hair is on fire. There is no middle ground for them. They beat Georgia Tech. They lost to us, though. You make that make sense. In this case, though, as much as I like Miami, I think NC State does have enough talent. I think that's too big of a line. I think this is somewhere like a 10-point game. Give me NC State. I'll take the 15.5 points. Sheldon?
Yeah. I took NC State, although in hindsight, I might want to switch it. But I do think that they're coming off a really emotional win against Georgia Tech. And I actually don't like teams when they're coming off emotional wins. So for that reason, my brain would kind of say Miami, but kind of like you said, Curtis, 15.5, that's a pretty big line. I could see them losing by 2 touchdowns, but 3 scores would be a little bit much. So I'll take the back.
And real quick, Shelton, they did have last week off. Yeah. So they did not – they did kind of have that buffer in between the big win.
There's more time to think about it, even worse.
Or is it better? What do you think, Tally?
Well, my first mind was North Carolina State, so I chose North Carolina State. But then now that I'm paying attention and Curtis picked North Carolina State, I wish I could switch mine and fade him. No, but I kind of had the same mindset as y'all. I just feel like that's too many points. I think with how bogus the ACC is, it don't even have to do with these two teams. I just think that something has to happen to cause chaos. So 15.5 is too much. It's got to be a close game. I think Miami still pulls it off, but I think it's a close game. And North Carolina State loses by maybe 10, something like that.
You know what, Tally? You're going to see this and you're going to wish you would
definitely think
Miami.
Oh,
you're
Lord.
Wish you was stuck with Miami, man.
Oh,
let's switch.
Hey, so I'm going to say this. This is one – if you'd have told me that line was 12.5, you could probably talk me into taking Miami here. 15 and a hook just seems like way too many points. There's way too many different ways that can fall. Where it's 15 or fewer here. I think NC
you're up
keep it
you're
close.
up 42-21 and you take everybody out and they sneak a touchdown in.
Yeah, it's goofy shit that can get this one. I feel like it's going to be, like I said, about a 12-point victory for the Hurricanes here, but I do not like that 15.5, so I'm going NC State.
All right. Who's next?
Is that me? Did I choose that?
Tally.
I think that's me.
That is you. That is you, Tally.
Interesting game to me. Georgia. I got a lot of Georgia fans, friends here, so I, kind of pay attention to them. Georgia hadn't been super impressive this year. I mean, compared to what we've seen, they've been impressive. But I'm just saying, the Georgia of old, just going out and blowing teams out and stuff. And Texas is just a weird team. I feel like I never know what I'm going to get from Texas. I don't think their quarterback's that good, but I also think that their team is pretty solid. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. But I did take I did take Georgia to win in this one and to cover in this one, just because I think that Arch is going to give up some interceptions.
Brian?
Yeah. I'm right there with you, Tally.
Oh, man.
I'm riding with Georgia with you, Tally. I don't know what Texas team is going to show up, and that's really the difference in this. I mean, that's a Texas team that lost to Florida by 8 at home. Georgia's a lot better than Florida. That's a Texas team that, was in a dogfight with Kentucky and then turned around 2 weeks later and beat Vanderbilt. So I don't really know what to expect from them, but because of that, I am going to ride with Georgia. I think they're the more consistent team. I think they're the team that can probably take care of business by a touchdown at home.
All right.
Yeah. Does it mean?
Sheldon, you get to go fourth. Hold on, young man.
Okay.
Tally, Shelton, because I think if I can remember what Sheldon picked, I'm going dogs on this one. The reality is, the Tally's like, oh God. The reality is, Texas could be like 4-5 right now. They should have lost to Mississippi State. They should have lost to Kentucky. The honest truth is, if Vanderbilt had got their head out of their ass for the fourth quarter, they would have lost to Vanderbilt. They are not a good team. The best game they played all year was at Oklahoma on a neutral site when Matee didn't have a damn thumb. They get their doors blown. If this was 10, I'd take it. Now, you, Shelton. Give me your answer.
Yeah, I don't know how much I trust Arch against a really elite defense. I think Georgia's going to be the second best defense that he'll play so far behind Ohio State. So just not sold on him going into that crowd and coming away with a cover.
There we go.
All right, there we go.
And Sheldon, it's back to you.
Yeah, I chose this game because I thought it was kind of interesting. You've got Louisville that's coming off just a horrendous loss against Cal, potentially cost them a playoff spot. And then a Clemson team that kind of had a get-right game against FSU. So I'm going Louisville. I think kind of the opposite of what I said the last time, where I pick against teams that they're coming off an emotional win. I am picking for Louisville because I think they're going to be really pissed off after that loss last week, and they're gonna have their heads screwed on straight against Clemson. They're going to take out their frustration on them.
All right, Tally.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Clemson in this game just because Dabo has the Lord on his side, and he needs to get to a bowl game to kind of salvage his job a little bit. Think that he's going to do that somehow. But I think that this will be a big win for him. Dabo can coach. I don't know how they line up against Louisville on paper. I haven't paid attention to the two teams. But I watched Virginia Tech play Louisville and should have beat them. And then I watched Louisville the next week play Cal and lose. So I feel like Clemson's going to go in there and take care of business and win this game, unless Curtis says the same thing I did. Then I need to switch.
I hate to tell you something. It's not Curtis, but it is me. I'm riding with Clemson on this one too. I don't necessarily think that Clemson had a get-right game, but I just don't think Louisville is quite the team that we think they are. I think they've been exposed.
Is their running back hurt? With that hamstring injured?
I think he is. I don't know if he's going to play or not. I haven't heard final if he's going to be playing or not. But
we know that on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I seen that he was still hurting.
Yeah.
Isaac Brown's still out.
Yeah, I'm not too high on Louisville as a team. I think they're going to be it's going to be a tight game, but I think Clemson probably pulls this off. I think they win outright probably, but it's going to come down to the wire on this one.
Louisville's a better coach team. Louisville's in a good headspace. Louisville's playing for something. I think they were 15th in the rankings tonight. They still have a playoff shot with a couple games left. They still have a shot to go to the ACC. I think they win by a touchdown.
All right.
Because clearly the Lord ain't on Dabo's side to have all that talent. The guy can't barely win 4 games. So the Lord ain't on his side.
Man, you got to look at the whole body of work, Curtis. He's been there for a while.
He said the whole body of work.
The whole body of work? The whole body of work?
Yeah.
Clearly, he sold his soul to the devil for a few years. That's why he got lucky and won all those titles. There you go.
That may be true too.
He sold his soul to New Spring.
New Spring Baptist Church. By the way, Tally, I sent you a text. February 11th, Tech plays down at Clemson. That's on. I think that's a Saturday too.
Had to check that out, man. See what I can do to make it there.
See if you can make it up.
You know what? I picked this, and then I seen what Narduzzi has said, so I might have to go back on this. But we got Notre Dame Pitt plus 11.5. This is apparently not a big game, guys. This
not a big game.
This
doesn't matter at all. This opponent has no bearing because it's not an ACC opponent, so we don't give a shit about them. But Notre Dame is going to Pittsburgh nonetheless, and the funny thing about this one is that line. I think if you'd have bumped this down to 8.5, I might would have maybe leaned towards the Irish, but 11.5 is just too much, so I went with Pitt.
I too went with Pitt. Way too much. Like biggest game at Pitt since like 2005 or something. Like game days there. It's a noon kick. It's going to be like the big 12 o'clock game. And Narduzzi can say what he wants. And this is where it's like you're in an era where like games like this still matter. Because if they went out and go 10-2 and they have a Notre Dame win on their resume, they could sneak in. Again, this is why all those people, and I know Sheldon Talley got to say, this is why all those people who said the playoffs is going to kill the regular season. No, because in no conceived circumstances 10 years ago would Pitt have had any chance to get into a playoff playing Notre Dame this late. They wouldn't have. 7-2, you ain't getting in. They do now. This game's massive. And also, if Notre Dame takes another L, there ain't no way they're making it. I don't know if Pitt can win. I hate Narduzzi, but I don't like Notre Dame. And I don't know. 11.5 is too much.
Well, according to Pat Narduzzi, this game doesn't matter. So I will I don't know if you guys saw that on Twitter, his quotes.
Yeah.
But, I don't know how the players are going to take that. I'd imagine they'll be pretty inspired after that, hopefully. But, Notre Dame will definitely win, but I do like Pitt to cover. So give me the Panthers.
Same premise. I feel crazy now. I need to go switch these picks, man. I'm trying to get Curtis wants me to get to 500, but he keeps picking with me. Well, it ain't Curtis, it's Brian.
Listen. I'm usually the first one to put my picks out there.
Brian started the year off wrong, so we should be fading him. I'm thinking the same thing now that Narduzzi's came on and said his crazy stuff that he said. But that man is crazy, so I don't even listen to anything he says. He's probably, he's smoking mirrors and he goes in the locker room and gets high off cocaine or something. Who knows what he does? But he's gonna be. That's crazy. He's gonna be amped. Dude, he's gonna be amped for this game.
You know what he probably did? You know what he probably did? He probably had all the kids. He probably said, "This is such an important game for who we are. We beat them. We knocked them out. We get in. But watch what I'm gonna say to the press. Y'all gonna get a kick out of this." And he goes out.
We don't care. They didn't. Yeah, they didn't care about the ACC, so we don't care about them. No telling. He's always doing something crazy. But I think Pitt. I don't think they win this game, but I think they cover.
Yeah, I think they battle them. All right, so there are the big screeners. And there is more good games. I mean, we didn't even throw Alabama, Oklahoma on here. That's a massive game this weekend. There's a couple of them. Lane Kiffin against Florida. We remember what happened at this time last year. Ole Miss was in. They're in the playoff. Then they shit down their leg and they were out of the playoff. Love it. Anything to add tonight, gentlemen, before we wrap this up?
I'm all good, man.
I think we're good. I want to throw one thing in there. Hold on 1 second, Curtis. Give me just a second here. Trying to see who Curtis's best friend plays this week. Okay. Curtis's best buddy, Shane, plays Texas A&M. Plays Texas A&M this week.
He's going to win the game, watch. Because you didn't put it on the board that was your big screener.
So that was going to be my question. That was gonna be my question. He's sitting at 3-6, the same record as the Hokies. Is Shane gonna go in here and shock the number 3 Texas A&M Aggies? Curtis.
No. No. Although he's done all the right moves by firing people ahead of time to save his job for next year, I don't think he can win that game. That's down there. Nah, that line's 18.5. Nope, I don't think he can. What about either one of y'all two?
Am I taking South Carolina?
Brian, what you think?
No. This is fade Shane.
You don't think he's going in and shock him?
We're going to fade Shane the rest of the way.
Fade Shane, baby.
Fade Shane.
Biggest win this year could be against a 3-6 Virginia Tech team, and you gave your daddy the game ball. Fuck off.
There you go. Shelton?
My audio cut out for a second. What were you guys talking about? Shane?
Can they beat Texas A&M this weekend?
No, they will not. Texas A&M is legit, man. They are legit. Elko's done a great job there.
He has done. Could have been our coach.
Could have been our coach, but hey,
could have been our coach.
Well, we're not going to get into that today.
We can get into that and stay in the program roughly 5 weeks away.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
All right. With all that, fun night. A lot of people watching. A lot of stuff in the chat. Appreciate Jesse from Fear the Spear. Great name for a podcast.
Plant the spear.
Plant the spear. Fear the spear. Plant the spear.
Chuck
the spear. Whatever. He got a spear. Plant it. Yeah, that's right. I plant the spear in the middle thing. Listen, I'm tired, y'all. I gotta go to bed. So I'm gonna wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast. Brought to you by Counts Family Pharmacy in Blacksburg and by Moments on the Moor in Lexington. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Talley.
And I'm Shelton Moss.
Check us out at boundarycornerbt.com to listen to all of our episodes. While you're there, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. A bunch of y'all watching out there tonight. We appreciate that. We are on everywhere for a podcast, so if you can't watch us, listen to us. As always, we let our buddy Jason Long down in Roanoke play us in, play us out. Check out jasonlongmusic.com where you can see where he's playing live, connect to all of his stuff, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook pages. Appreciate y'all out there listening and everything. And as always, let's go.
Hokies.
Hokies.